absolutely ballistic at the USA Gymnastics Collegiate National Champions, right? It's important to remember. It's important to remember HBCU gymnastics is still very fresh. There's only two HBCUs in the nation that actually offer this program: Talladega College, Fisk University. And neither one of these programs have been around for 3 years yet. And in this short amount of time, at this weekend's USA Gymnastics Collegiate National Championships, both of these schools walked away with at least one gold medal. And I'm looking at Kirsten Johnson, who was able to win gold in the vault. And I'm looking at Morgan Price, who was able to win gold in the all around. This is always viewed as a perfect marriage. This is something that when it was first announced, HBCU's gymnastics, oh, that's phenomenal. And we thought it was a high ceiling, but I don't know if anybody thought that they would be able to reach these heights this quickly. And I think that's what makes this so special, because in the infancy, right? Because this is Talladega just had it. This is their first year. Fisk University 2 years ago. This is a very new initiative. And in its newness, so to speak, right? Put some air quotes, newness. I don't think that's a word, but in the new nature of it, you've already reached a high level of success. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Morgan Price clearly. Oh, also, I didn't even say this. In addition to being gold in the vault, you also had Kirsten Johnson, who had silver in the floor. And then you also had her get bronze in the all around. So she stood on that podium 3 different times. You have Morgan Price, who clearly performed well in the all around because she won gold. So she did everything very well, which is the name of the game when you're trying to win that event. Her lowest score of the day in that, it's 4 events, right? You got the uneven bars, you have the balance beam, you have the floor exercise, and then you also have the, why am I catching a brain fart right now? Oh, the balance beam, right? So you have those 4 events. And for her best events got her a 9.85, and that was the floor, and it was also the uneven bars. And then you have on her lowest event was a 9.725 in the balance beam. So that's about the bar of how low you could go and still be able to get first place, because second place, their lowest score was also a 9.725. And then in total, you had Price, who walked away with a 39.225 final score to come in first place. And this was big because she's the first HBCU national champion. And this was first. So, yes, you had Johnson, who was able to win gold in the vault afterwards, but that was not the first story that you see. The first story that you saw was Morgan Price. And there's a lot of things that go into it that will tie in a little bit, because I think her status does play a big part in how we speak about, or when we speak about her, right? But you look at Kirsten Johnson, and she had herself a day too. Morgan Price was able to win the all around. She got gold, and she had a phenomenal start. And then in the weekend, when it came to individual events, that's when you really saw Kirsten Johnson come alive. But even in saying that, I feel like I'm slighting her, because you're looking at an athlete who was just a step away from really winning gold in the all around. Had Johnson just performed better on the uneven bars, that's it. Has she just performed better on the uneven bars by a little bit, she is your gold medal winner. Like that's not even a question, because in the top three, she had the best in all of the other 3 events. And then in the uneven bars, unfortunately, she got in a 9.4 range, which dropped her down. And that was just too much. You can't have a 9.4. You know, if she would have had a low of a 9.7, similar to how Morgan Price did, we're having a completely different conversation. But still, you're looking at a really good day. And she's only a freshman. This is her first time here, and she's doing this. So now once she gets past the all around, then she gets to the vault. Then she gets to second in the floor. So she gets gold in one event, silver in another event. She I think she was top 10 in another event after that. She had a really good weekend of action. And for her as a freshman to be able to be the vault champion at USA Gymnastics National Collegiate Championship, right? This is national. Everybody's there. You have multiple people there. I don't want to say everybody's there, but you have a lot of people there. For her to be able to do that, I think spoke a lot of volumes. And I thought it was very successful. Now, these are, and I want to make sure she gets that love, because I'm not seeing Johnson get the love that Price is getting, and I think they deserve to have the same amount of love. Ain't no competing or anything. I just want them both to achieve or receive rather the praise that they both deserve. Now, for both of these athletes, they're extremely important to their college, right? So with Price, I think that and it's cut and dry with her. I think that Price really legitimized the HBCU gymnastic movement, because yes, we were already going to see this partnership happen. Everybody already had a high ceiling for it, because there was a belief that Black girls were going to want to go to HBCUs to do gymnastics. Makes sense, right? The fanfare of gymnastics, the fanfare of HBCU culture. I could just see it. And when you see Morgan Price do her floor routine, you see a flair that, people do it, but I think is really befitting of an HBCU. So when you see that pairing, it just makes sense. But then when you have somebody like Morgan Price, who was a big deal coming out of high school, and she came in as a freshman. So at this time, she was still a big deal. She was committed to Arkansas and said, you know what? No, I'm going to go to Fisk, who has never had a gymnastics meet in their life. I think they had just hired a coach. They were going into their first season as a program. That is a huge risk as a big-time recruit. And yet and still, Morgan Price did it. So she kind of legitimized the HBCU movement when you're speaking about gymnastics, in my opinion. And then when you have Johnson at Talladega, she is Talladega College Gymnastics. She was the first ever recruit. Did she start the program? No. Right? Like she didn't actually say, hey, let's do gymnastics at Talladega. She didn't actually pass it through. No, she didn't do that. But she did start this. She kickstart this program. She is Talladega College Gymnastics as their first recruit. And then in her freshman year, to be able to stand on the podium, right? Let's just get that in there. In her first year, her first trip to USA Gymnastics Collegiate National Championships, Kirsten Johnson, a freshman, was able to stand on the podium 3 different times. She received a gold, she received a silver, and she received a bronze. This is a phenomenal performance. And I think it's one that's a little bit understated, doesn't get the headlines, but when I tell you, it deserves it. Okay.